let's see. Yeah, let me remove that. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. Okay, let me just put you guys off to the side for a moment and see you in a minute here.
Yep, thanks.
All right, just getting started. First of all, thank you for joining our webinar today. We're going to be discussing critical angles in the global recycling trade. And in this session, you'll hear from 3 industry experts. They're going to discuss their panelists. They're going to discuss and share their lessons learned and provide their insights on how they manage risk. So starting off, I will make a quick round of introductions of the panelists themselves. One moment. So Manoj Sharda is with Triple M in Canada. He's a business development and international trade expert with over 17 years of experience. He focuses on procurement, sales, and contract management. He's currently the director at Triple M, and he manages the exports of metal scraps, ingots, finished products all across North America, South America, Europe, and also Asia. In addition to this work, he's also written for recycling magazines. He's presented at conferences. He's also represented Triple M at major conventions like BIR, REMA, MRAI, and he's actually an active member of the trade committee at REMA currently. So we welcome Manoj Sharda. Neel Shah is with GDB International. He is the head of business development since 2010. GDB International is one of the world's largest recyclers and leading recyclers. They founded in 1993, if I'm not mistaken, and they deal in paper, plastics, paint, and metals. Neel handles all these commodities and many others for the Indian recyclers. He was in the past an MRA board member of plastics recycling and represents GDB International in various associations like the BMR, REMA, and MRAI. And our third panelist is Chirag from Jain Metals Group. He is a trader specializing in sourcing scrap from the U.S. market for their production facility in India. He spends part of his year in Asia growing Jain Metals supplier base there, just recently learned. And he's been with the company for 3 years, directly maintaining connections with suppliers globally. His expertise primarily revolves around non-ferrous commodities such as lead, copper, and aluminum. So we welcome all 3 panelists to our discussion today. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor. So this webinar is sponsored by Davis Index. Davis Index plays a crucial role in the metals industry by providing essential price benchmarks on base metals, recycled metals, steel, and secondary alloys. While many of these materials aren't really listed on traditional exchanges, they significantly influence global trade. With over 1,400 proprietary price indices, Davis Index offers invaluable insights that help businesses like yours navigate the complexities of the market. We're grateful to have Davis Index support for this webinar and their commitment to helping our industry thrive. Thank you very much. And lastly, before we get started with the panel discussion, I would like to make a special announcement. TradeFox will be offering Davis Live on our platform starting on Tuesday of next week. So Davis Live is Davis Index's new product offering, which will be available next week. It is the light version of their full product. It offers live pricing on ferrous, brass, aluminum, stainless, lead, zinc, copper, precious metals, even shipping and freight. So these live exchange fees are critical for anyone that is involved in global recycling trade in general. So this provides essential data to navigate those markets effectively, and they will support you making informed decisions, enhancing the trading strategies as well, and enabling effective market analysis. So also, I must mention as well that there are insightful articles. So in the full product, you do have a news feed and articles that are put together by Davis Index team. Those are also included in the subscription with Davis Live. So it's quite a deal. It's for 1 year. It's available through TradeFox on a discounted price of $5.99 per year. It will again be available live starting on Tuesday. So if you can't wait till Tuesday and you want more information, you can drop us a message or send us an email to support@tradefox.co. Otherwise, you'll be hearing about it certainly very soon. So let me bring our panelists into the chat here. So thank you guys very much for joining. It's nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
So I think this conversation is about due diligence, and of course, having a thorough due diligence in place is absolutely paramount when trading internationally. I used to also operate a trading company for 7 years. Learned the hard way. Once the deal goes wrong, it's so difficult to fix the problems, and it's very time consuming. It's very costly. So due diligence is all about making sure that you're not barging into a deal or into a trading relationship that could potentially go south. So during the next 45 minutes, we want to learn from you guys. We want to understand the processes that you have in place to avoid these mishaps, not only at the beginning, but also during the trading relationship as well. You guys have been at this for quite some time. You have a lot of institutional or knowledge within your companies as well. So we'd love to hear from you guys how to remain diligent through the trading process and also how to avoid the pitfalls in the beginning. So before we get started, I just want to also mention that we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if anyone in this watching this webinar has a question, you can put it into the chat in real time while we're discussing, while we're going through the webinar. And at the end, we'll pull the questions from the chat. So go ahead and pop them in there. Be sure to mention who you want me to address that question to. So let's kick this off. I thought it'd be good to start with a couple of stories from you guys, actually. I'm always interested to hear critical steps in a company's due diligence process that's helped them to avoid running into problems. These are the good stories. And Manoj, would you kick it off for us? I'd like for you to share an example from your company of how, because I've seen your due diligence processes, and thanks for sharing. It's rather extensive and it's very sharp. But give us an example of how this process has helped you avoid problems with a new trading partner that you've worked with.
Sure, Chris. Thanks once again for TradeFox and you entire team for wonderful work you have been doing for industry. So coming out of experience, we had incidents where we had a very tried and tested, vetted customers, which we were trying to develop from Latin America. And the references and all means, I would say the initial parameter checks were everything perfect. The numbers that were shown on calculator, we thought, okay, why don't we try to materialize these numbers on paper? So we decided to travel down over there. While arriving at the yard location, then we came to realize that, okay, the things shown while discussion and things on ground reality, it was altogether different. The loading capacity, we were told of say 400 to 500 metric ton a month, which was looking on the infrastructure present, looking on the staff, employees over there. That seems altogether different. And slowly after staying there for a week, I would say we were able to realize that even the profitability numbers which were shown, that was not even available and that was not even matching with the numbers shown on the discussion point of view. The biggest red flag we had while having a investigation and check on the customer, the expense level they were trying to do to entertain their suppliers, that were totally in mismatch of what they were earning even on monthly basis. That was a big red flag that, okay, it was more like they are trying to influence customer to get the business done, because the stake was 100% upfront before even the container gets loaded.
Okay.
So we wanted to have that due diligence, and then later we realized that it was more like digging one pothole to fill the another one. And after some times we came to know that, okay, the company went bust.
And how did you gauge that their supply capability once you got there? What were you looking for that let you know that there's no way they can load 500 metric tons a month?
See, the biggest thing was that when you are dealing with bulky items like ferrous, you need to have a space, you need to have instruments, you need to have manpower resources to load the containers. So even handling like 400 or 500 metric ton, it is like you are handling at least 700 to 800 metric ton on ground, whereas on reality, you don't have material worth even 2 containers.
Okay.
Then to load, even like say, if you are loading 20 containers or 30 containers a month,
Yeah.
then also you need to have at least a handful decent amount of labor equipments. But on ground, you don't even have a forklift to load containers.
Okay. And then they were giving you kind of like a dog and pony show of sorts. They were trying to impress you, taking you out for nice dinners.
Absolutely. Nice dinners, nice parties, everything nice except for
Okay.
the feasibility.
Yeah, I've had something similar like that in my in the days before. Okay. So the critical part of your due diligence process then is visiting the supplier or the buyer, I think in both regards. Is that like, do you follow that pretty much every deal?
See, I would say that, yeah, this is one of the biggest requirement we have, that, okay, any new supplier or any new buyer, we prefer to travel. Maybe if we are not able to travel in current situation, we prefer to travel. We keep it on our radar that, okay, we have to visit this customer to know. Or if we are doing a smaller volume, and then if we go for a bigger volume, we make sure that, okay, spending money on travel is nothing compared to losing money on 100% basis.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else would like to join in and give their
Yeah,
experience?
sure. Thanks, Chris, for having me, by the way. I'd like to kick off with that. And to add to what Manoj was saying, we at Jain Metals, we have a pretty simplified, KYC process is what we call it before onboarding a new client. We've tried to keep it simple rather, but these things really aren't.
Mm,
And yeah, one of my experiences was with an American client, and I had visited them, made sure that the volumes they were promising, which were pretty significant, were actually there on ground.
right.
And we, usually along with that, tend to run a credit check. So we did that, which came out good. But when we moved towards the further into the process and actually tried doing business, we did a quick market reference check, and we noticed a bunch of like red flags there. So favorable payment terms, favorable credit, and material available. But thank in some ways we're thankful that it's a small industry where people know each other and
Hmm.
are mostly rather helpful. And it so much is in line with what you're doing at TradeFox, but we did a much simpler version of that, and it still did help us, and we were able to avoid a potential issue there.
Well, walk us through the market check. Like, what does that look like? What are you doing during that process? Because it seems it's obviously very important.
It's of course very important, but
Yeah.
it might seem very layman, but it's just about talking to people who are working in similar markets, who
Hmm.
might even be competitors, but they are suppliers and clients that I trust and I work with currently. And for the most part, are pretty fair to me, even when I have to discuss a competitor with them.
Got it. So then you look for companies that maybe neighbors are in the same area that you can speak to, and of course you want to find trading partners that you can find out what the experiences have been. That's the number one, I would imagine.
Precisely, yeah. In
Yeah.
addition to that, it's also the other end users in India whom I can check in with and see if they have purchased and sourced material from that particular client and from that region, if that can help me as another layer of a market reference check.
Very good. Very good. And for you guys here, or maybe for Neel, what would you say? I mean, it's obviously very important when it comes to the onboarding of new trading partners. And so, what are these key steps of the thorough onboarding process for new trading partners from GDB's perspective? Can you share a little bit of your thoughts? You're on mute there, Neel. Neel, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, thanks, Chris, for inviting me. And I must say, we have been talking since last, I think, 1.5 years. We have been discussing this kind of platform we need, and how should innovative it should be, and easy for people to access it. Regarding when we bring on board any new client, like we GDB per se, we deal with a huge segment of client, from waste paper to plastic to metal paints, which is not my forte at present. But yeah, so we have a wide variety of clients we deal in each part of India, mostly whole of India. So when we bring any, like for metal, in example, we deal with a lot of processing yards, which are a small units working with maybe 50 people or 30 people, having a one manager or one supervisor, and the owner is hands on with the work. So best part is we visit the yard, we understand what exactly they are doing, we make them understand what we supply, and during that conversation, we do and try to analyze what exactly the company is in, exactly what they do. Are they really long-term people, or they do understand the product, or are they processing the material? And then the second part is we try and interact with the key people inside. That is our what we do. We try and meet the key people. We tell them to introduce to us. And being in a wide segment of commodities, we have lots of networking in any part of India. Like if, for example, if I'm selling paper, then I have a metal client in that state or that city. So we do get to interact with them, find out about, because business is in business, like in a city or any people know each other. Mostly in India, it is like that. And traditionally, people do interact with each other's business, especially in recycling. So we find out how does it operate. And third is the major part, we try to get a lot of their compliances, how far they are good in compliances. We do get those. That are they filing their compliances, or especially all required in India. So we do get those how good they are with. Have they faced any difficulties? So those all 3-4 parameters we get into our data, and then we go on board. Because but there are challenges. I won't say, because we deal with a very small micro units to large units. So, and the commodities we deal in, which starts from maybe $200, so $135, $165 per metric ton, to goes to $6,000 per metric ton. So it's a huge gap we have. We have to deal all kinds of. But the best thing I would say is to visit, understand the client, see the setup. If you are visiting a small, if it's a big company, visit the office, see the factory, see the environment. I feel the chances of going wrong, it gets very less, but you do go wrong with a big client, well-established client, and sometimes you see a small guy comes up with a good business and they turn out. I have seen processors used to import one container from me. Now they're importing at least 100 containers per month from GDB. So they have grown, and they have been with GDB for the last 7-8 years, and they have been with us in all the difficult times. From, say, the market got bust in 5-6 years back, the lockdown, we haven't faced any problem with them. So basically it is, we have to be there, visit them, understand them. That's what we all do from GDB team. We keep on visiting, we keep on going there. So our traveling is more there, physically presence is there. Even if they have some issue with the material, we avoid third party hiring. We go there directly, we solve the problem, we sit there with them for a few days, understand so that way the relationship has become stronger and stronger since so many years. So by God's grace, we have been doing nice with our clients, and we have been there for them, and they have been there for GDB for, like, say, maybe GDB has not lost account since, the percentage you say, we have lost account 5%, 2 to 5% in last, since we have buyers since 1995, 1996. They are with GDB. They are still buying paper from us. They are still buying plastic from us.
That's amazing.
So,
what about and for anybody here, do you guys, when you're visiting these potential new trading partners, especially with recyclers, but it could be also factories or whatever, do you ever like take an mental inventory of like what kind of equipment these guys have? Because you can calculate processing capabilities and so on. Like, is that part of the process for either of you guys?
Yes, we do. But we generally see what exactly they are, because you have to understand the automation or machinery comes after much later stage of any person who has started recycling. The major processors are still based on manual labor, bit of machinery, but mostly the big people have their automation, have their machinery, have their capex in a big way. But the small companies, and India has that big pool of labor. That is the strength of India. They get, and surprisingly, those are really skilled labor. If you visit any good yard, processing yard. You'll be surprised the females how they process a product called Zurich, and they come out with like copper, brass, and I have seen those 100 females sitting in a line and coming out and selecting and just throwing things it's amazing. So we have that big strength, but when you see that, then you understand these guys are really serious in the business. They're invested in human power. They've invested in their own facility. But yeah, we do see the capex, how good the capex is, what kind of machinery, especially in plastic, we do see, because plastic needs a lot of automation. So we do visit and see what exactly they're doing with that. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very, very detailed. And also, I mean, it's while you're there, you want to check everything you can, right? I mean, like that's the whole point. And you're really looking for signs of things looking, well, red flags, especially these dog and pony shows that you described, Manoj. I've been to a couple of these where they wine you, dine you, and try to make sure you buy from them. So, well, okay. Well, so we've talked about like these are very thorough checks. This requires a lot of time. So now that makes me think, or I guess the next question I have is, what about sometimes you're running out of time. Sometimes you need to make a judgment call. Sometimes you don't have the amount of time that you'd like to have to make a decision. Maybe you guys have a comment about what your approach is to making these quick decisions. I mean, how would you approach that? Maybe Chirag or Manoj, either one.
Yeah, sure. So basically what I feel that, thanks, Chirag. So I feel that, okay, yeah, we are sometimes stuck in a critical situation where we have to take a quick decision, and especially when dealing with Asian customers, the common window we have is in morning 3 or 4 hours when it's evening time in India or Korea, and it's a morning working time, and we have to take a quick call that whether we have to make a sale or not. But still, we never take that pressure fully. I prefer to go through our inner circle, what we define, where we have, like Neel said, that, okay, our connections, we call it more like our inner circle where we have much more comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Until and unless we are able to get a positive vibe for the new customer, I'm very, very much happy to lose the business, but I won't be doing business until unless we are comfortable. Okay. We might be going through social media, we might be going through companies like TradeFox to scour for any red flags over there, or to go through any something which is available on means, I would say, the internet today, or even the import data, or even the volume they have done on like previous couple of years, what is the volume of business they are doing. Based on that we decide. But yeah, many times it happens we lose the business, but we are okay rather than losing couple of percentage than losing the entire money.
Right, Chirag, you were about to jump in. What kind of short? Yeah. I hate to say shortcuts, but what do you do when time is of the essence? How do you approach that?
Manoj put it very well. That's basically the essence of it. But if you have to put it more in terms of a step-by-step process, if I'm skipping one of those steps, it just puts a little more stress on the others. Where I would pay a little more attention to what's in the credit report I'm looking at, what are my market references looking at. And one thing I can control there is my payment terms. So I would preferably work with more controlled payment terms, at least for the first 2 or 3 contracts, and make sure I'm able to cover my bases in every other way if I can't control this particular one where I'm not physically visiting their scrapyard or, sitting with them face to face and trying to understand what we're doing there.
Very good point. So you adjust the terms a bit, and if somebody's pushing the clock and you need to make a decision, then you put yourself you lower your risk by modifying the terms. And if they take
I lower it as much as possible. But what Manoj said is captures it really well, that I would never take a risk that big if I'm not quite sure. But still, these are other ways I would probably mitigate it.
Okay. Well, we talked about, I mean, we're now talking about for the last 15 minutes about new trading relationships. And I feel like that everybody understands implicitly the importance of making sure that everything passed the sniff test, that everything checks out, no red flags, and we start that relationship. And it's often good to start out with a few small loads and you kind of work up. And in this business, it's all about trust at the end of the day, right? So because there's not really a nice international court system that helps us as traders, is there, right? So when there's a problem, you're going to have to deal with it and probably in some other court system. And, you never want to get there. So what I would like to actually kind of turn the focus to now is like, what about after the onboarding process? So what happens after that? So I'd like to really, it's important to do the upfront checks, but what about regular checks? And maybe somebody would like to share some examples of I guess why it's important to do regular checks, especially with the partners you've been working with, and maybe a little bit about what those look like. I think Neel's trying to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What, like you said, you asked about ongoing business, right? Ongoing business, regular checks, right? Yeah. So that is it's the same thing. We have to go there. Even if it's ongoing, we need to speak with them, understand, and it's same, Chris. It's same. Even if it's a new client, old client, we have to visit, understand continuously. It's an ongoing process. I cannot be just sitting that okay, now this account is doing well. I should not be alert on it. Yeah, I have to be more alert, more understand. Maybe I would say more understand if they require anything more, or we can add on, or we need to see what exactly. So it's an ongoing process. I have not said, I cannot say that if my client is 8, 9 years, 10 years old, and I'm just okay, relaxed, and the business is ongoing. No, it's the same. Tomorrow I'll be again speaking with them, or day after tomorrow, once I'm speaking with them, I'll be making my schedule if I'm visiting that part of India. So I'll make sure I'll visit them. I'll speak. So it's an ongoing process. Especially in scrap business, it's like scrap. It is scrap. So it's not same every time, even if the same commodity. So there is always a challenge of it because it's not manufactured. It's collected and segregated, and then we ship it. So there has always been there. So the scrap business, we have to be with the client. We have to understand each and every client, even if how old, how new. It's same. For me, I don't think so. We can just say that, okay, the client is good. Now we should not be worried about it. And the worried is not a right word. We should be there, understand. We should be upfront. We should be updated what's happening in their business. How are they tackling it? How, if they require. So, yeah, so that is what it is. So speaking with.
So you're staying, you're maintaining that relationship, you're investing time in it, you're making sure that you yourself or somebody else is on the ground. So you're in contact with them, I guess, also regularly. And a lot of that sounds like just, part of that always for me was maintaining the relationship itself between two people that have developed a layer of trust. But I think it sounds like, and I don't want to fill this in for you, but let me ask the question. Is part of that then also checking to see what the ground looks like what's going on, like how much material or product or processing or is machinery broken down, or are the people still there? Are you going there also to lay eyes on the business repeatedly just as a check, as well? Is that part of the point?
Yep. Yeah. That is one of the part of the point. And maybe we, if we are there, then the client becomes more open with us. They try to share their plans with us, that we are going to do this capex. How can GDB be part of it? Should we plan our next product line or next segment with you? So there you are being part of that business as a part of their supply chain. So there we do tend to be. If you are there, then you are there with them. If you are not there, they might be. And the best part of the scrap business is what I have understand is the competition is not there between two suppliers. I have not seen that cutthroat. There is nothing like that. Even two suppliers are there. There is nothing like that. People tend to share their. We share our experiences. We share our references to our core competitors, and it's the same way with other our buyers also. So if you are there, then they might say, okay, one of my friend is putting up a plant. would you like to visit them? They are there. He's putting up a similar kind of facility, and can so this I have seen. People don't tend to go adverse or go against that somebody is putting it, because the market is so big. Maybe that's why, or people are not worried. So same way with the supply, or same way with the end users. So that's, if you are there, then you tend to get new business with through them, or even their business you can add on while there, or you can give them some ideas. Okay, now you are doing this. Let's start with this because you have a facility, you have a place to start add on. So that way, that all helps when you are there on ground with them. So
Wow.
that is what I can surmise on that.
So it's checks and if we were looking at it purely from a due diligence, like ongoing perspectives of just trying to stay on top of risk, actually what you described is building the relationship, which is always an asset that pays back in troubled times. But you're also out there because you're spending time with them and building that relationship, or even seeing new business opportunities come out of it. So it's actually like it's three benefits in one, basically. So you're going to recoup the cost of these in-person visits and relationship building in three different ways.
The cost of visiting is nothing compared to the business we generate. It's nothing.
Absolutely.
It's nothing. It's all the investment we do. That is the investment we have to do. It's nothing. I don't think so. Like Manoj said, visiting is nothing. You have to. If you don't do it, unless you can do it through your other way of communication. But if you can invest in visiting, ultimately it turns out to be not much of a big investment or much money. If you talking monetary terms, is nothing. It's hardly anything. The business you can generate in long term with them, or you can be saved from not getting the business into. The other way, if you look at it. So if you the other way, the money you spend to visit there, and you save the money, like Manoj said, he visited Latin America. So they save the money by just traveling there and getting into a big trouble. So that's what it is. Both side of the same thing. Either you save or you make some money. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to hear from you, Manoj. I'm curious what the biggest lesson that you have learned, put you on the spot now, even after doing some level of due diligence. So you've done your checks and everything is done and it looks good, but then something goes wrong. And out of that, what's a lesson that you could share that you learned that you could share with everyone?
Yeah, sure, Chris. So I would say that no system is foolproof. And even if you grade your customer today as an A-rated customer, you cannot confidently say that that customer will remain A-rated even for next 1 decade or 2 decades. And that's why I mean what Neel pointed out, that, okay, you have to be on top of each and every time with the customer, maintaining relationship. So it's not only maintaining relationship, it's trying to understand what they are doing, what new part they are coming back, trying to maintain that relation, and then generating more business out of it. Breaking ice, no doubt, it takes a long time, but then maintaining relation, that takes more of energy, because now you have comfort zone, you have relations, so you have to maintain that relation, and at the same time you have to take business also out. So, Miss, I do accept that we also had very bad incidences after doing regular checkups and then regular even like a due diligence of the customers. But yeah, the only thing which we can do is we tried to look out what were our shortfalls, what was the way we can tweak our system. We went for credit insurance on our customers to mitigate our risk. That was the biggest thing which we added up for our part. And apart from that, now means earlier we used to depend only on customer, or like say for example, if I'm selling to India, we were dependent on only indenter feedback. But now we opened our eyes to have a feedback for each and every customer, each and every possible option. So being Indian, I would say that, okay, there is one Indian proverb that Nazar, Khabar and Sabar, means it's like keep a lookout of your customer, then keep a watch, means even if I'm not doing with any business with the customer, but keep listening to what is happening in market, what dynamics are changing, who is doing what to other. It could be like someone is doing something bad to someone else. It could be sometime to me. So we try to keep that information, also keep flowing for that information. And then patience, which is the biggest key, that if we are not able to do business today, for sure, if we have a relation, we can definitely do a business tomorrow. So we keep means changing our system, we keep changing our onboarding process, I would say, but that has helped us a lot.
What about so yeah, if you're with both with Neel and Manoj, what you both have shared just now, I mean, if you being in contact with the customer and staying on top of it, this is a way you also spot the red flags. You see things that are starting maybe need another look. So I'm just wondering, like, what are the triggers that would make you say, okay, we need to go back and pull some, pull a new report on these guys, and we need to go back and, check the references again. Like, what are some of these red flags? I mean, Neel, if you could take that one, and I'll let Manoj chime in as well. But yeah, what would those things be that you go, okay, it's time to rethink this and check these guys out again, almost like they're brand new?
Personally, for me, a red flag would be when a buyer goes aggressive in buying. That would put
Okay.
a red flag for me. That I would put if the buyer is very aggressive in a market where I can see his finished product is not that easy to sell and he's buying aggressively. I would put a first red flag to it, and I will try to understand why is he being so aggressive and where exactly he's trying to sell his finished product. And yeah, that I should mention. We do keep a tab. We don't do any kind of finished product, but we do keep a tab of all the finished product which our commodities end of the day they are selling. So we try to have all the data of that what exactly is happening in the finished product market.
Oh,
Is it
okay.
so that's how so if he's selling like waste paper, and if he's suddenly giving me $20 more one meal, then I would just take two steps back and see, okay, however good he is, or the company is, but I need to understand why he has a big order. Or so then the first red flag is, then if we can get some information from our sources in that city, that town, or that industrial area, or that industry, that is, things are all right with them. Is they are too much leverage, or they are looking for somebody is not giving them material and they are trying to get material from our company because nobody else is giving them material. They have not cleared the previous containers of those company and they are not able to get raw material and they are trying to buy from us. So those two, three things do get into our red flag zone, and then we
Right.
try to understand it. And if the company is really in trouble time, see, that also is there. It's a genuine problem. There is a genuine problem, and they need raw material. So if we are there and visit them, we understand, okay, now they need maybe 50, 60 containers, especially in commodity like waste paper. We need to supply them because they have an order, but they don't have a supply chain. Something is amiss while they were ordering. So, but yeah, those are the few things which we keep a tab, that if the buyer is very aggressive, or if the finished product
Mhm.
market is not there and he's still buying the material at a better price than other competitors, so then we tend to slow it down. However, the big order is, we don't execute it. We don't go ahead with that till we are confident about it. Yeah.
I would
Manoj, would
like
you like?
I would like to add a couple more points to what Neil added. We even keep a watch on how many days the containers is staying at the port after arrival. That shows how much efficiently our buyers are able to manage their fund position, how they are planning their production part. That is a big thing which we keep a watch. And then second thing, we have relations, so we keep a watch even on the advances part. We do not sell anything without advance, and that is a major thing, crucial, I would say, a business decision for us, how many days they take to do the advance part. So even
Right.
even if some customer, after agreeing to do 5 days advance, and if they are taking 15 days or 20 days, that makes us to decide, okay, in future contract what we have to take our decision for. So there are a couple of things how they do for the payments part, whether they are aggressive in the quantity, but how their selling part is getting done. If they are selling for cheaper market price, that gives a red flags to us that, okay, they are just trying to import material, rotate to show bank documents, and then selling material in domestic market for cheaper price.
It's very interesting to hear this, that you guys are looking on the other side of the customer, that's very insightful to think about that, because of course you can see the problem. If the business is starting to have hardship, it's going to filter back eventually to the supply side. And also one thing that I observed in my days as a trader is that people make bad decisions because markets move against them. You call it a bad decision, but nobody has a crystal ball at the end of the day, right? And there's a measure of risk you have to take. And sometimes the trader, in our case, the trader would have access to information that the supplier doesn't have. I know this morning when my partner wakes up that when I pick up the phone, he's like, you need to buy right now because market prices are up in India. And I go out and I buy on that information, and maybe that catches the supplier who didn't hear this for a couple of days off guard. And one thing that I've noticed also in those days is that depending on the relationship that you have with the supplier, that you may or may not be the one that gets the bad load or gets cut or gets their shipment cut basically as well. So it's being important enough and having a strong enough relationship in with that supplier, even maybe they're treating me right, but they're maybe treating somebody else wrong, and that goes for both sides, buyer and seller both, right? So you have to really stay in touch with the other people, that other traders or the other companies that are buying from them, to know that there's a problem. Otherwise, you didn't know that you maybe just got away with that problem by the skin of your teeth, basically. So it's really interesting to hear that from you guys. What about data? Like, there's two things I want to ask. So first one I asked is about data, and second was about, I want to come back to you, Manoj, about the credit insurance, because you shared a little bit to me about that in a previous call. But can you guys tell me a little bit about how you use data to kind of reinforce your decision? I've heard credit report, a couple times, and also analysis of the sales of these companies. We've not talked about like trade data, for example, a little bit about volumes, Manoj, you mentioned, but anything else you guys like to add from the data side that's important, and what kind of information are you looking at that we've not spoken about that either of you like to add?
So data point of view, Chris, I would say it's more like backward looking, what you have done in the past. And in fact, the data will be coming once the containers have been released. So that will show that, okay, is what they have done, maybe like if it is a previous month data. So that shows you what they have done. And we definitely go for data check. We definitely go for what volumes they are doing. And like, say, for example, as Neel said, for the aggressive buying point of view, if the company is having a capacity of, say, 1,000 metric ton production, and if they are buying scrap for 2,000 metric ton, we definitely, that part is reflected in the data part, and we definitely analyze whether they have some exceptional orders, they are going for some outsourcing of their work, or is it just their rotation of their documents part. So that all part is visible only from physical data, which we are able to see on import side or maybe on the export side. So I definitely rely on data, and that gives a fair idea. Even on onboarding of a new customer, that data gives a volume. Okay, what volume they are doing, whether they are actually a buyer over there in the market, or they are just starting off.
Anyone else want to add anything from the data side?
Data, yeah, like same what Manoj said. I would go through that only. What we take, if somebody is buying material which is, we don't think they have a capacity to utilize it, or they have booked material with our company already and they are still trying to buy more, then we'll say, okay, then we should not be adding more to it. We'll try to understand. And like the previous, we see whatever history we can get from the data point of view, we would and we do try to get for our personally, we do try to get a lot of their internal compliances. We try and extract. So how are they meeting those data? Also, we keep it on our front of us, that what exactly how are they meeting their all the compliances regarding, say, GST or anything. So those we do keep with us, and we try to get them, and we do get it. And then we see, okay, now this company is already there and they're doing it so much. They're doing this much business. Why are they adding on? They haven't done any capex, or they don't have any more capacity to add on new material. Why are they buying more, or why are they giving us a much better price than other competitors? So that data does help. Yeah, it is a part of the due diligence process, and it is become more and more relevant because it's getting accessible. You can get easily available data is there, so it's in front of you. The numbers are there in front of you. You can analyze it. So yeah, data is a part of becoming a stronger part of due diligence. It's becoming a stronger part of due diligence.
And these certificates and certifications, et cetera, what kind of information are you gleaning from that? Is it that you're making sure that they're doing all the steps that they need, so that there's not going to be problems on the import side later? Because I've heard some horror stories where things don't get cleared from customs because checks aren't there, or are there documents that provide a lot of information about, I don't know, some other details, volumes, or anything else? What do you glean from that?
Regarding import, yeah, if you are importing,
Certifications, et cetera. Yeah.
yeah, importer, if you are importing a commodity which is restricted, which is they need a special license to import, yeah, those licenses they have to provide, and until they don't provide, we don't tend to deal with them. And the other side of the compliance is those are the certificates which every company requires. So they have to have all those certificates like pollution control board license. That should be updated. So all those licenses they have to keep with them. So those also data you can get it through your sources, through the local pollution control board, that the company has a proper license, it is renewed or whatever. There hasn't been any problem with the pollution. And now we have been last 2-3 years, thanks to our president Sunil ji, we try and make them more responsible for what they are doing. So that is our latest thing we try. So whoever recyclers we visit, and if they are not very responsible, we try to tell them that please be responsible with the handling of the material. So that is not a part of due diligence, but that is what we have been doing right now, with especially with plastic scrap and other commodities where the pollution is high. So we try and tell the client that please be more responsible for handling with your scrap, invest more in sustainable way of handling the scrap. So that is so, and we see if those people are doing that, that also adds on to their way of doing business. So that again gives them more points that okay, now they have invested in their not, which is not required, which might be taking away something from their bottom line, but that's still they're investing for a long-term gain. So that also gives us a better picture of that client for a future business, for a future larger business with them.
All right, and Manoj, I wanted to come back to you about, because I think it's important for our listeners that may not be aware of how to use credit insurance checks, basically. Maybe if you could explain a little bit about what that is and how that works, because you shared with me that that's one of the ways that you guys check companies. It'd be useful if you could elaborate a little bit on that and how that's in part of your process.
So basically, Chris, it is more like you are trying to shoulder your all exposure or the risk with some insurance or the underwriter. So whatever the business exposure we are taking, we are trying to mitigate that one with our underwriter who is providing coverage for that one. That coverage is more dependent on what the potential, what the financials are, or what the capex investment the customer has already done in their system, how their historical performances are. That is the crucial point. So there are, I would say, around close to 12 to 18 different parameters where, based on these different credit rating agencies, they rate each and every customer, and accordingly they come out with a number, like say for example an X customer with $1 million coverage, and that $1 million coverage could be split between Triple M, GDB, any other suppliers over here, maybe in Europe, maybe in North America. But the biggest factor for us, biggest reason for going for that, earlier we were self-insured, but then we decided better, instead of taking a bigger exposure on ourselves, we would be taking an insurance with the companies, and that it's a big cost to business. That's definitely there. But we are okay sharing that cost, because that gives us a piece of, okay, at least in when the water is high, you have someone to take care of you.
Right.
So till the things are positive in your favor, everything goes smooth, we think, oh, why we are going for this cost, but the actual realization comes to know when there is a reverse way around.
And these and you said, as a supplier, of course, you know, buying, as you just mentioned, you can buy the credit insurance. But just to be clear, there are these checks. Just for the listeners, also, there are checks that you can purchase, and they just tell you what they would insure the company for, and then you can make a decision on that, like you said. So I think that is that's another interesting way of checking companies out and just having.
Absolutely. And if there are certain means couple of many time it happens that there are many customers which are not available in their database, which they shared internally, then they definitely go for collecting all required information from the customer, and then they process they have their own due diligence process, and after that they come back with their verdict whether they are approving the customer or they are not approving, or might be if I have requested for $1 million, they come back and say, Manoj, we are approving only for $100,000.
Right. Okay. Last question. Chirag, I'd maybe direct this your way. Again, you guys are all with very large, companies, and I know a lot of our listeners are going to be, looking for tips and ideas. And how can a smaller business balance the need for quick decisions with the importance of due diligence? Because, honestly, when you're a trader, you can be caught in a situation where you have to pull the trigger or you're going to lose the deal. And so smaller businesses balance the need for that quick decision, basically, versus the importance of due diligence.
Yeah, so one of the few things they can do is really harness the data that's available to them. So all of us have access to reports, credit reports and financial reports of companies. But say, I'll give you an example on when I started doing this on day one, I would skim through those reports versus a few months in, I realized I'm not really making the most of this data. And I set up a meeting with my data provider, so to say, whom I was getting these credit reports from. Took out 30 minutes of my day to really understand every aspect of the report, and how I look at it between then and now is night and day. I make so much more of the exact same data I had access to earlier. So I think harnessing data is a major point. Smaller businesses have access to that, and I think that's one thing they can really make the most of. Another big part of it is the trade associations. I think trade associations both at home in India and abroad are pretty supportive of small and growing businesses, not just in the form of the networking opportunities they offer, but in terms of guiding us in the right direction and how these businesses should really run and the correct business practices. So I think a combination of those two factors goes a long way. And lastly, if they can find their way into the inner circle that Manoj and Neel mentioned, if they can find their way into that would really close the loop on their due diligence.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, in fact, we set up, Trade Fox with, because I come from a small business background, and we don't, as small guys, you don't have the legacy, you don't have the reputation, you don't have the money on your side, so, and you do end up taking a lot of risk, and data, as you just well said, is the one thing that everybody can buy. You guys buy it, small company can buy it, everybody can have it. It's all, Manoj, we talked about it with trade data the other day. It's like everybody can get it, right? It's all out there. So indeed, data is what we hope is it levels the playing field for everybody. Makes it if you can decrease the risk of small and medium sized businesses, it basically triples up, basically, right? It takes the risk out of the industry. So that makes, I appreciate your answer, Chirag. I think that's a really, really great way to round up our discussion today.
Chris, I would like to add one thing over here.
Please, yeah.
I would like to say one thing, especially for the new business who's starting. There's nothing wrong doing business, but the simple thing is there is no free lunch. The biggest anticipation which a new company they do is that, okay, I will be buying $100,000 worth of item from Chris. I will be selling to Neel for $125,000, $150,000. We have to understand we are in commodity business, and have we had such a big margins over there, we would not have been able. I would be flying with my own charter plane every time I have to go, right? So I do happen to meet many new customers, many times new people, those who are venturing out. The biggest misconception they have in their mind is that, okay, there is a big margin, there is a big thing, which commodity business do not give us a privilege. So they should be doing their homework first, and it's my personal theory is it's better to buy a costly product rather than looking around for a cheaper product.
Mm.
So costly product will make me cry only once when I am buying, but at least it will keep me in market compared to, like, I'll give you one example. Yesterday, one customer still wanted to buy one commodity from me, and he said he's able to buy 10 cents lower from some supplier in New York. And I said, okay, you should go for it. So you have to understand that, okay, despite I'm giving him a red flag that, okay, I'm not able to buy at my own yard, means I'm not able to buy at my yard level despite having yard cost, then
Right.
processing cost.
Yeah.
He's saying he's able to buy CIF Mundra for India. I said, good for you. So we have to understand that part. We are in commodity business where margins are limited, and we should be doing our due diligence first rather than going looking around for a cheaper product.
Very good point. Very good message, Manoj. I'll be honest. When I first entered the business, I was green. I came from consulting and working for factories implementing recycling programs. Had a little bit of experience in import and export, but I didn't know this whole industry. Didn't know the metals business, and we came in thinking that well, there's a lot of money to be made, but there is good money to be made, but it's made on volume. It's made on a lot of clean business with a lot of good relationships, and it's continuous flow. It's volumes. You're not gonna. In fact, I remember a lesson I learned many years ago was given to me. It's a story. I guess you'd say a fable, or I don't know, a message, whatever. Anyway, this scrap recycler told me, he's like, wherever there's some type of fraud, there's always one very smart man and one very greedy man, and then you have the fraud. So and then the question is, are you the smart guy or are you the greedy guy? So this is when the deal is going to go wrong. So it's all about volume. It's all about good business. It's all slow and steady wins the race. So let's see if I have a couple of questions in the chat. Let me see. Let me just see if there's any for the Q&A. Okay, I'm not sure who this question is directed. Probably Neel. I'm going to guess it's you. But the question is with ESG moving to requiring more data, requiring more details for raw materials, tracking, sourcing, etc. What are some of the things that you're proactively doing in this space at GDB?
GDB, we are trying to comply with the more whatever data we can, because now it's becoming more and more what you say requirement for the industry that you require. So we have hired people especially for this particular work, and they are providing us. So last 1 year we have been investing in that and getting the most of information we can, and how updated we are in that point. So we are on it. But GDB is we know that we need to get things much more faster, because being such a large volume business, we need to have whatever we can as soon as possible. So we have people working on it.
Yeah, this is a really challenging area. It's a little bit outside the scope of due diligence, but just since the question is brought up, I think it's very interesting. The European Union, passed their legislation some time ago that if you're working with companies that are trading over $50 million a year, or if the companies themselves are trading more than $50 million a year in sales revenue, they have to report their supply chain. And I think the bill got watered down a bit. I don't know the details of it, but I do know that it's all just part of a process that seems to be moving more and more in that direction. I've also had some conversations with people that are seeing a great opportunity because they're able to, for example, this is about scope 1, 2, and 3, right? They're able to measure their carbon footprint, better than some other companies, and so it became a competitive advantage. So yeah, interesting. It's a challenging area, but of course, if we stay on top of it, then we can be the ones that can ultimately long-term benefit off of implementing new processes, whatever it takes to get it done. Of course, as a company, we also would like to, one of our verticals we're interested in moving into is ESG, because of course we have profiles on companies, we have trade data, we have reputation information, we're bringing in credit reports, we're bringing in all kinds of additional financial stuff. So, financial information But what is, also very logical put there as the ESG score, as a carbon score, is, different types of scorings that we can put together. So we're also looking at that. So interesting question.
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I said you're right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate it. One small announcement before we head off the call, and I wanted to sum it up, but I do want to announce to our viewers that at TradeFox, we're starting a new introduction service. So we have our core trade reputation reports product that allows us to see, with our data, the reputations of companies around the world. It's used by hundreds of companies. And we're now looking at making introductions globally. So that means that we're doing due diligence on companies for the companies that are looking to grow and expand into foreign markets. And so if there are any listeners that are looking to reach new buyers and new suppliers, and you want to use data-driven approach and also a concierge level service approach from our end, please contact us. Let us know. We'd love to have you as one of our earlier customers. We just started this product in October, but it's a very, very interesting new product line. We're getting a lot of interest in it. And also, if you are a U.S.-based business and you qualify with the Small Business Administration as being a small business, and actually the bar is kind of high, surprisingly, for recyclers, also traders alike. We are able to, through a partner that we have, help companies pick up grant money from the U.S. government for expanding exports. So we can potentially cover or help you cover all the costs for that service as well. So please reach out to us if that's something of interest. Little product plug there from my side. And gentlemen, that's it from our end. I mean, we've learned a lot today. I really appreciate the candid discussion, the sharing of stories here. I mean, I've learned a lot, and I think the way that we get better in this world of this wild west of international trade is by sticking together a little bit of storytelling, being open and sharing, and I think at the end of the day, the tide rises all ships, right? So as we all help each other, we all get better, and our industry gets better, and I think it's a great thing that you guys have taken some time to come to be with us for an hour today. So,
true, very true. Trish, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having us. Yeah, it was nice. It was really pleasure.
Thanks for having us, Chris.
Especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys. Have a great evening, Manoj, a day to you, and we'll all speak very soon.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Good day.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.